Hello and welcome to Master Job Skills. My name is Nancy Attrell, and you may wonder why you don't get hired when you know you are qualified. In this video, I will show you how your body language and other nonverbal skills will make you stand out from other job seekers. It may surprise you how much it will impact your likelihood of getting that call back after an interview. These skills are also critical in interaction in your normal business life with your manager, co-workers, and customers. But first, I just want to make a disclaimer here. Oh, there's a picture of me. There's really no guarantee that following these strategies will result in you being hired. I really can't make that promise because there are many reasons why employers choose one candidate over another, and there could be so many reasons of, culture, the type of job, specific skill that they're looking for. But these skills that I'm going to show you will give you the best chance of standing out from others, and that's really what you want. Okay, I welcome your feedback once you've worked on developing these critical skills. Nonverbal skills are really one of the most powerful tools you can have in the workplace. Before you say a single word, people are already forming impressions about your confidence, credibility, and professionalism. Today, we're breaking down 5 essential nonverbal skills that can help you show you confidence and build trust at work. And they may surprise you. Okay, so let's get started with posture and presence, okay? How you carry yourself is an extremely effective nonverbal skill. Your posture actually communicates confidence or maybe a lack of confidence, depending on how you carry yourself, long before you open your mouth. So make sure that when you walk into a room in an interview or into your manager's office or just with other professionals, stand tall or sit tall. Keep your shoulders relaxed and back and your chin level. Think of yourself as being open and grounded, not stiff or tense. You may be nervous inside, but this is where your acting skills have to come into play, okay? Avoid shrinking into yourself or folding your arms. Those signals can make you look unsure of yourself or even closed off and negative, okay? This reminds me of a time when I was in a meeting and I was asked a question that required a thoughtful response. I looked up in an attempt to collect my thoughts. The manager accused me of rolling my eyes, which we all know is a negative response. I was actually not, but simply looking away to try to formulate my reply. So looking up, therefore, may falsely be interpreted as eye rolling, and also looking down at your lap, even though you may be formulating your response, it may falsely portray that you are withdrawn and not confident. Okay, so very important to keep that chin level and not to move. If you have to turn away from eye contact, it's better just to look off to the side a little bit and lower your eyelids, but don't look down and lower your eyes down, okay, if you need to. And don't linger there too long. All right. So standing, sitting tall, listening actively, again, is very important. I have a whole video on active listening, but being engaged, doing that slight lean forward, not dramatically so, but a slight lean forward, and maybe tilt your head slightly to the side and listen intently to when someone's speaking to you. And really, sometimes this isn't nonverbal, but it goes along with it. Sometimes repeating back what they said. Do I understand what you just said? I think I understand what you just said, and then repeat a little bit of it. And that shows them that you actually are listening and engaging, and your body language needs to show that as well. And then relaxing your arms, like your hands down just gently on the lap, palms open if you can, and keep your shoulders dropped and back. And so that really does make a huge difference in your appearance. And of course, you're going to want to practice this in the mirror if you think you have an issue with it. Please don't cross your arms or sit back, because that's an extremely negative portrayal, even if you don't feel like it. You're feeling like, no, I'm not letting them in to my world, or I'm not believing what they're saying, or I've got a problem, a negative problem with what this person is saying. Okay, eye contact is the second of 5 skills, and that kind of goes along with what I was just talking about with posture and presence. All of this is nonverbal, and it's all very, very important that we get it right, okay? So it's one of the clearest signals of confidence and engagement if you make eye contact, direct eye contact, but aim for natural, steady eye contact, at least half of the time when speaking one-on-one. If you're speaking to a group, maybe sweep your gaze across the room so that, and kind of, catch their eye, every so often, and make sure that everyone feels engaged and that you are talking to them directly. Okay, now on the other side, please avoid staring or darting your eyes or looking down too often. They can signal discomfort or uncertainty. So when someone I interviewed, and really in the many interviews that I've done, when someone I interviewed does not look me in the eye, or if I'm sitting as their manager and they're, we're having a conversation, not looking at me directly at all immediately gives me the impression that they're not sincere and possibly should not be trusted, and therefore in a job interview probably not going to hire them. Okay, so there's no need to really stare at someone, but just make that eye contact at least once per sentence. Okay, so just to recap what I said, look directly at the person talking, but don't stare. Avoid moving your eyes around too much. No looking at the ceiling, eye rolling, looking at your lap. Although you can look away a bit here. If you have to look at your lap to, if you have notes or something that you want to retrieve from a bag that you have, then obviously you're going to just do that naturally. Okay. So try to move your head just slightly and, nod yes the odd time when you're listening, because that shows them that, you're not just staring into space and, not really hearing what they're saying. The person interviewing you wants to know that you are actually hearing and absorbing what they're saying, so that they can create a great two-way conversation. And then that little bit of a lean in while listening and engaging, tilting the head, a little bit of a nod here and there. Of course, the facial expressions will be the next one. You'll really benefit from rehearsing these movements in front of a mirror or recording yourself. And of course, you're going to see a theme there because, I'm going to probably repeat that in a few minutes as well. Okay. Okay, so facial expressions. First of all, they must match your message. Your face should reinforce your words, not contradict them. So a slight smile can make you appear approachable and confident. Neutral expressions work well with a serious topic. So be mindful of unintentional frowns or blank expressions. They can send the wrong message without you even realizing it. So when you're talking about a successful experience that you've had, that you want to share with the interviewer, make sure you don't frown or that you're just staring into space and talking monotonely, because that will not portray the right message that you want to. In other words, your words need to match your expressions. If you're talking about something that was negative, I still wouldn't frown my brow a little bit, but I wouldn't maybe smile through that. And then, of course, you're going to give an example, and we'll talk about this in another video. You're going to give an example of how you overcame a difficult situation or what success you had going forward or what you learned from it. And then you can smile when you move that conversation back into the positive zone. So you see what I mean? Everything has to match what you're saying because it really does portray sincerity. So just to give you an example of, I teach college students, and one time a student asked me, why do I not smile much? And I thought, really? I said, really? I thought I was smiling a lot. It felt like, from my perspective, from the inside, that I was smiling. I felt like I was smiling, but upon rehearsing a lecture in the mirror afterwards, I discovered that I really did not look like I was smiling. So therefore, I've been mindful to smile enough that I can feel my cheeks actually moving and contracting, so that there is a turn up of my mouth, and that, you know, the eyes look like they're smiling, and not what I was doing. I was really quite surprised at myself. So this is why we all need to practice how we appear to other people. Some public speakers practice extreme smiling on their own when nobody's looking before they go on stage, just to get the brain to remember that a smile goes a long way, and to get those cheek muscles engaged so that the brain doesn't forget about them. So don't extreme smile when you're speaking or you're in an interview. Extreme smiling seems quite insincere. So you have to strike that right balance. And this is the theme I'm talking about. Practice it in the mirror, to practice your natural smile that you want to portray and how you want to look to your interviewer or your manager or whomever in the business world you are talking to. Okay, so again, they should match your message. Smile when you're telling those successful experiences. No facial expressions when talking about a serious topic, although you could lean in a little bit and look a little bit concerned, but no eye rolling, frowns, or blanks. Okay, once again, there's that eye rolling. Okay, so number 4. Sorry, I cut myself off there a little bit. Okay, number 4 is making those purposeful gestures, which I kind of started to talk about in the last point. Gestures help people understand and remember what you're saying. Use open hand movements and emphasize those key points. Keep your gestures controlled and intentional, not frantic or distracting. Avoid hiding your hands or crossing your arms, which can signal discomfort or defensiveness if you're folding your arms. So hand gestures should be used strategically to invite people into your conversation. So always those open-handed, lifting your hands out, moving your hands out away from your body a little bit while you're explaining something, but don't do it all the time, and don't flail your hands. The last thing you want to do is to not be able to control that and knock a coffee cup over in an interview or something like that. That will give the message that maybe you are not in control of your emotions. And so it's really important, again, to practice this in the mirror. So hand gestures are really important, and from personal experience, I know this to be true. And I've had to practice this strategically because I'm a person who talks a lot with my hands, and I do flail sometimes if I'm getting excited in my personal world. And I have knocked over coffee cups more times than I would really like to admit. So I've always had to strategically, intentionally know what I'm doing with my hands at all times, and you want to invite them in. So as a singer, I inject the right kind of hand movements at the right time to invite the audience to engage in my song. And you will see that with performers. The performers who are really engaging with their audience, and just go on, watch some videos of performers, and you'll see their hand movements. They're not flailed, their hands aren't moving all the time, but they are moving with the subject matter of the song to invite the audience to come on in and absorb the song. So it's the same thing in business, okay? Again, practice in front of the mirror. Very, very important. Okay. So always match your message with your gestures, open hand movements to emphasize key points. Control those gestures and don't flail all over the place. No hiding your hands, sitting on your hands or crossing your arms or clenching your fists. That makes people know that you're nervous, and that is a nervous thing. And so that portrays that you're not confident. So make sure your hands are relaxed. And when you're not using a strategic hand movement, it's just to lay them open-handed, on your lap. Okay. With your shoulders nice and relaxed. Okay. So the fifth and final one is tone, pace, and pauses. Now, even though much of this is verbal, it's not a nonverbal, but the pauses are nonverbal, and the pace of your speech, because there are short little pauses in your speech, they're nonverbal, and they're incredibly important. And I just said, and if you maybe want to play it back, how I just said incredibly important. I emphasized incredibly, and I paused and said important. So you see, I'm emphasizing a message that I want to get through. So a calm, steady tone communicates confidence. Vary your pace to keep people engaged. So don't do like a monotone. Like, you have to do some inflections up and down, almost singing but not singing. Okay, I went up a little bit here, and I'm going down a little bit here. So you have to start to practice all that. Now, it gives your audience, the portrayal that you are very confident and that you know what you're talking about, and you actually care that they are going to get that message properly. Okay, so don't be afraid of making some pauses. They give your audience time to absorb your message as well, and make you sound more thoughtful and in control. So here's an example. I always slow my speech when recording these videos and when I'm either in public speaking or teaching a lecture. So the pace at which I am recording this right now is not necessarily the pace at which I speak in my normal day-to-day interactions with family and friends or whomever. I slow it down. I do have certain pauses, but you don't need to, really shouldn't pause too long. But making those pauses gives the person time to really hear and absorb what you're saying. So the pauses ensures the listener will hear my words and have a clear understanding of my intent. Using pauses after an important phrase allows someone to ponder what was said before moving on. Emphasizing a key word along with a pause is an effective way to communicate. So I'll give you an example with the next sentence that I'm going to do. Listening to experienced podcasters and announcers, and you will see how they use short pauses, highs and lows of their voices to sound polished and professional. Okay, so you see how I move my voice up and down, and I did some pauses to emphasize really what I'm trying to communicate. So it's really a communication tool. Okay. Okay, so let's just recap. So some of this does seem verbal, but it's just connected a lot to the nonverbal techniques that we really need to practice in our communication. Calm, steady tone equals confidence. Don't yell or express too much emotion. So you want to have that emotional control. So you don't want to portray that you are not in control of your emotions. Pause. The nonverbal pause is powerful. It helps slow your speech. Okay. So, in conclusion, be intentional with your body language. Align your posture, eye contact, facial expressions, and gestures with your speech. So what you're saying has to align with how they're seeing you. The result is much more confidence, and they will be more impressed with you. And trust me, you will stand out from the other candidates, or you will stand out in the workplace as you practice this in your day-to-day work life. The result is that you are more trustworthy. Okay. So here, I'm calling to practice, and of course I've got a violin there because if you don't practice the violin, you're going to sound really, really awful. So if you want to play the violin. So if you want to be an effective communicator, and especially in a job interview and in the workplace, then really try to put these processes into play. So this week, starting right now, choose one of these 5 skills. Maybe the one that you might find is the weakest for you. So that could vary from person to person. Choose a meeting, a conversation, or a virtual call. Maybe you want to have a buddy, help you along with this. Or if you're just going into a meeting, say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to control my gestures today, or I'm going to walk into that meeting standing tall, and I'm going to really focus on my posture and how I carry myself. So just try those things, okay? And you try it all week. And if you have no meeting, conversation, virtual call, again, go in front of the mirror, write yourself a little script, and practice it using whatever skill it is. If you're with someone else, pay attention to how people respond to you. Adjust your habits accordingly and track the changes in how you are perceived in your own mind. Obviously, you're not going to say, gee, did I look like I was this? Unless you're doing a role play with a friend of yours, and then they can give you lots of good feedback. So that is a good way for you to practice. Record yourself or rehearse in front of the mirror. You will see yourself as others see you, and it might surprise you, just as I was surprised, thinking that I was smiling at them, and really it didn't look like I was at all in my example that I gave you. So, you know, we're all learning. I've never said that I was perfect. There are some things that I still have to be mindful to practice when I am engaging with other people. Okay. So your next steps will be, you can download a printable push-pin tip sheet for reference at your workplace. I have push-pin tip sheets at the end of my videos. Yes, you can copy and, you know, you can take notes, and you can maybe download the sheet and have it on your phone or your tablet or your laptop or whatever. I prefer, if my with my clients and myself, print the push pin tip sheet and actually use a push pin and pin it on the wall in front of your workspace, so that when you look up from your device, you will see, oh yes, I'm supposed to be practicing these techniques. I'm supposed to be engaging, and am I doing that? Have I been doing that? It's a very powerful reminder. And of course, if you are engaging in many of my videos, you're probably going to have a few push pin sheets up, but it is something that will help you recap this video so you don't have to watch it all over again. It just gives you a very quick reference to help you along your way. Okay. I would love to hear your comments on how this has helped you prepare for an interview or a meeting, or just interact with others. So please post your comments. I will read them. I will respond. And let me know if there are any other topics in the business world that you would like me to address and to form a video on. And of course, I'd love you to subscribe so that you'll receive all of my future videos. I do post links to my other videos in the description as I'm recording more and more, so check back. And if you hit subscribe, you'll get them as they come along anyway. So I'll see you in the next one. Have a great day. Bye now.